And those beyond the binary to another special episode of Horsin Around. I'm your host, as always, Nick Mercadante, and with me today I have three lovely guests. If you'd like to introduce yourselves. Nobody wants to introduce themselves. Awesome. Yeah, I forgot the part where I need to tell you guys the order to fucking go in. Forgot that part of the setup procedure. Please say something. I'm begging you.
I'm Jerry Seinfeld, and
Okay.
This is comedian Karis getting coffee.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite album of the year is Marina Herplot's.
Shut up! That's not the fucking episode!
I am Kobe.
I'm Brandon.
Alright, and today we are going over our best and worst movies of 2022. And I think we will get started right off the bat with Kobe. What was your worst pick of this year?
Well, the worst pick for me this year was a little-known indie darling gem. The Netflix 2022 release of Marmaduke, voiced by Pete Davidson. This movie was an animation masterpiece, if you want to call it that. It's just an abomination of filmmaking, and has so many story plot points that gets very egregious. Like, if I were to tell you that Marmaduke just causes like World War II at one point because of his gas.
No, it's World War I. He gasses the trenches.
Yeah.
Like, that is a legitimate scene that happens in this movie. Yeah, I totally agree. It's just, I am still working on the theory that this was a pilot for a TV show, that they then were told, no, we're not going to make a TV show, but we've already paid you enough for this pilot, so just make a few more, like, bits to connect the tissue, and then we will make it a movie and drop it on Netflix, so we can get maybe some money out of it.
Don't forget, J. Jonah Jameson is in that film too.
That's true. They did also pay for J. Jonah Jameson.
And Pete Davidson, the voice of Marmaduke. The two biggest films of his career this year, Marmaduke and Bodies.
You can see such a wide range that Pete has, you know, through these two roles. It says a lot about him as a person, and his acting chops are really just in full force in the animated classic Marmaduke 2022.
He can rap.
Can he? Can he?
What's wrong with Pete Davidson Marmaduke dog rap?
Yeah.
Okay. It's something to see for yourself. I'll say that much.
Even with this movie, like, I'm just curious. Like, I do kind of agree with your theory, Murky, that something went wrong. I don't know why this was released, because for those who have seen it, it's unfinished. Like,
yeah, so very clearly unfinished.
Broken animations in the movie. There are, like, just placeholder textures, and I don't even know how to explain the movie, especially the final act of the movie. Like, you think the movie's going one way, but then, like, they introduce a whole new cast of characters that just become obscenely stereotypical.
Yeah.
So this is something I brought up in chat a little bit earlier, but like, I had not seen the whole movie with you guys, so I had only seen like the first 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, this movie's bad, but it's not like a crime. And then the third act happens, and you're like, okay, it's a little bit of a crime.
I think the biggest crime part is when they introduce the only Asian character in the movie, and then they like do the very typical like gong noises. They give him like these supernatural elements.
But you gotta admit, we didn't expect them to rap for their portion of the talent show.
He did rap.
Also, there is like one good joke in this movie where they decide to do the Star Wars text crawl.
Yes,
that joke is that was the joke where I was like, this is why it's not a crime. It has one good joke.
It has one good joke, and we have to give it to him for that one. Not for anything else, but for that one good joke. I'll give him 1 star for that one. Oh man, yeah, just a terrible. Like, just terribly animated, unfinished movie. I can't believe we live in a world where fucking Warner Bros. Is canceling half their goddamn shit, and then Marmaduke still gets released. Like,
I mean, but that's kind of the thing, is like, this has been a factor of animation time since Memoriam, is that the things that get made require money,
Mhm.
and money people don't understand how animation works, and so that creates a problem where you have a select few outlets of actual quality animation with the funding required in order to get that, and then you have a bunch of other things that happen where they're either banking on like DVD sales of like a known property, or like that's why it's Marmaduke. I mean, the main thing I think of with this movie is another movie that came out this year. Sorry, I mean in 2022.
Yeah.
The year we're reviewing, which is Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank, which is a movie I think I'm the only person who remembers actually came out this year.
I remember seeing the trailer for it and being like, "Oh, it's like a knockoff Kung Fu Panda."
But
Oh,
okay, so
that
here's the
movie.
thing.
Yes.
I have not watched it, but from the people who I know who have watched it, they talk about how it's not knockoff Kung Fu Panda, it's knockoff Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
Uh,
that's so. Wait, can we make Blazing Saddles in the current year? Does this movie prove that it's impossible or possible?
not starring Michael Cera, and with the budget it has working with it. So I'm looking at it right now.
Oh man. Okay. Well,
And-
we'll have to review that some other time.
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying about how like there are always these sort of like not knockoff, but you know like these. But even Paws of Fury like is kind of a knockoff in that people go, oh, it's kind of like Kung Fu Panda. So they instead of kung fu, they're samurai
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
who you know, and it's in that vein. But they just kind of sit around for a long time, and sometimes they get a release, or they just are looking to sell it off to somebody. I mean, Marmaduke is on Netflix. Netflix to some extent paid for that movie.
Yeah.
Well, they
And I
paid
think
all right, but not with money.
I think Marmaduke 2022. I'm trying to
It is-
remember.
It's also fun
What
fact.
the-
It's the currently lowest rated movie on Letterboxd.
Oh wow.
It is, and that's
Okay.
almost my hottest take. Where I think this movie is bad, but if the general public thinks this is the worst movie they've ever seen, they got to watch more movies.
There are worse movies out there, which we will get to later on. But
We
I
should
think.
also, just kind of give our Letterboxd scores for each of these movies.
Oh sure.
Yeah, we can do
Uh,
that.
I gave Marmaduke a 0.5 out of 5, the lowest possible score, just because of the abomination that was.
Let's see. I gave Marmaduke a 1 star. I don't need to get too far into this here, but I feel like to earn a half star from me, like there needs to be something so abhorrent in every facet of the movie, and like we joked about it, but that one Star Wars joke, and then like maybe one other thing I actually laughed at, were like there's like something that makes it not literally the worst thing, or
That's
one of the worst
thing
things.
about the third act, which is the third act is terrible, but there is you can watch it and you can see the influence of some classic slapstick comedy style animation in there with
Yeah.
how the characters move around. Now it's all placeholder fucking rigging and that kind of thing. It doesn't look good, but you
Yeah.
can tell that there are still some ideas that are going into this, and it's the only movie that's ever earned a half star on my letterbox is the Happy Time Murders, a movie where I was watching with someone and we got maybe like 15 minutes in and said, we're just gonna 2x speed this shit and like not really watch the rest of this. And even on 2x speed, it was almost too boring to get through.
Oh man.
Like, you gotta work for your half star, and I think that's why Marmaduke stays in that 1 star level rather than the half
You
star
don't like
level.
Melissa McCarthy? Just say it. You don't like Melissa McCarthy. Hey, you're a fat phobe. I understand. I get it.
If Melissa McCarthy was the only problem with that movie, like I've seen Melissa McCarthy movies where I'm like, okay, it does not work, but I'm not gonna give it like a half star. Happy Time Murders is a movie that does not function.
Okay. All
Like,
right. What was your Marmaduke review score though?
One star
Okay.
out of 5.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I also gave it 1 star. I think on the same vein of giving out half stars. I usually need to feel personally insulted or attacked
Yeah. I
by
need to
by
feel
film.
violated by a movie.
Yeah, like kind of like Jurassic World Dominion. Which
We will get to. We will get to. First, though, Kobe, let's talk about your best movie of the year.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
we're gonna do it that way. I thought we were
Yeah.
gonna do all.
No, we're gonna be out and in. We're worse
So,
than
yeah.
the best and worse than best.
The best movie of the year that I picked, it was actually one of my favorite movies of the year, probably top 4, is The Banshees of Inisharan. Directed by Martin McDonagh, who is made in Bruges, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri,
Good movies.
and his
Mhm.
newest film, Banshees, which I gave personally a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd because for the reasons, one, it introduced us to this bleak Irish land and made us feel like it was lived in, and
It really makes you feel like Ireland has people in it. So
It really
true.
makes you feel like an Irishman.
No, it's the Irish.
For this film, for me personally, I liked it a little bit better than 3 Billboards. I found the screenplay, the writing to be very tight. It was, I think, his wittiest movie yet. Like, there are so many laugh out loud moments for me in this that the dark, bleak comedy that it was presenting just worked so well. And then when the movie got depressing, it got depressing. And I just felt like the consistent tone that the director was going for on this one, and I think there's a reason why this screenplay is being nominated all over the place and is racking up awards, especially at the Golden Globes, is just because of how well done it was, and not even that, just the acting itself between Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson was just so top notch, and the supporting cast itself, like there wasn't a bad aspect of that film to me where I was like, man, that I could drop this. It was from beginning to end. I wanted to be so much longer. I wanted more of that movie as it ended.
Oh
I
yeah.
like Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell just because having seen it in Bruges, they already work together so well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think watching them again on screen, well, technically not working together so well, was interesting.
Yeah. What was your rating, Brennan, on Letterboxd?
I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good, but I definitely didn't think it was like the best Martin McDonagh film ever. I definitely gave it a 4 out of 5. Like I liked it. I thought the acting, just the non-chemistry / chemistry between Colin and Brendan were great. It tells a pretty simple story about what if one guy was just like, well, I don't want to be friends anymore because I want to pursue X and Y. I just didn't, I guess, like what kind of holds it back for me was personally it didn't really touch me that much. I thought the acting, score, everything else was solid, but I think the story was just not. It wasn't really reaching the lengths for me. It wasn't going the distance. For me, it just came down to this was just a very enjoyable film for me to watch, but not like one of the greats for me.
Yeah, I got you. I gave it a 5 out of 5 as well. I think I've been thinking about this for like a little while now of what ratings really boil down to for me personally, and I think it can be boiled down to 2 criteria. One, which is a very low bar to pass, but it's also probably my more subjective bar, which is the message that there, or the messages, or whatever, like the themes are, or like what the story they're trying to get across is the ideas that they're portraying, like ideas worth portraying. And I don't think I've really encountered any movies that have something so abhorrently bad that that haven't passed that bar for me.
We haven't seen Happy Time Murders.
Yeah, I guess I haven't. But then the second criteria, which is much more, I think you could make it more objective and you could get more nitty gritty and more, most of the rating comes from is like how they manage to execute that and how well I think they execute on the message they're trying to get across. And for me, the themes in the movie of, yes, losing like a friend, just not wanting to be friends anymore because they're having their own conflict with like their legacy. I think they just fire on all those cylinders, and like the depression that can come from not understanding why you're losing a friend, because it's like, just shaking up your world in a way that's like fucking, just having someone out of the blue, like, I'll say from personal experience, this happened to me at least once in like elementary school and middle school, where a friend just like, I'm not friends with you anymore. I'm just like, huh? And then that was like a whole ordeal for like years of my life in middle school, and like that, really shakes you up. And I thought that they portrayed that really thoroughly and in a very human way, with the way the main character reacts to everything.
They actually reminded me. I guess I was Brendan Gleeson for one person in high school, and I just realized that. I just remembered. I simply decided to not want to be this guy's friend anymore.
Yeah,
well,
it's a human experience, and like I think that at least Colin Farrell was the guy that wanted to stop being friends. Or was that Brendan Gleeson?
No, Brendan Gleeson. Colm went to Pedrick and said, "I don't want to be your friend no more."
Yeah, so Brendan Gleeson, like, he at least is like, this is specifically why. You talk too much about nothing, and I want to work on my music. It's just like, okay. A lot of times people don't even give you that. So like, at least he gave him that, and then kept talking about it. And then Colin Farrell was just like, coming to terms with that in a whole bunch of unhealthy ways that culminates in the finale of the movie. But thankfully, it's still like, he doesn't do something that's completely irreparable, but it's still, I mean, it's kind of irreparable. I don't know, but like everything, it's just a series of hurting people, I guess, after the initial like break off, and that's kind of the whole. Yeah, and I think they do that really well. So I gave it a 5. Didn't like it though. I don't know. There's something that needs to like really connect and hit with me to get like a like on Letterboxd, and I don't know. It was really well executed, but
it's a 5. But I don't know if I like it.
I'll give, as my other examples of 5 stars that I did not like were fucking Midsommar and Hereditary, movies that I thought were amazing and I will probably never watch again. So yeah, but that's where I'm at for Banshees. How about you, Jacob?
That's kind of what I liked about Banshees, is what you're talking about, which is sort of like, it's so personalized in a way where it doesn't feel like anyone is like, it's a movie where people should just talk to each other, but it's also a movie that clearly establishes why these two people can't just talk to each other.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I like that. But now we're cooking. Now it's time to bring out my hot take as to why I gave it a 4 out of 5 rather than a 5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because it's one of the few movies I watched and went, I think I would have preferred this more as a book. Because, yeah, big old loser. But while I appreciated that's what's funny, is like I kind of agree with everything you guys said. I think the strength of this film is entirely within its script and characters and how those characters are materialized. And I think, Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell do great jobs of bringing it to life. But I almost feel like what is holding this movie back for me is not necessarily the personal connection, because I've also had this type of experience where like the feeling of like, oh man, we're just like incompatible as friends, even though we've been friends for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of the use of the camera, and I mean, there are films that I think can capture this type of picturesque feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love Pride and Prejudice. I love Sense and Sensibility. I think Banshees of Inisherin kind of falls in that category, whether you feel like it or not, because it's still, Banshees of Inisherin is what people would classify under a romance. The only difference is that this romance is between two platonic friends rather than people who necessarily will smooch each other at the end. But it's a breakup movie, and I think it succeeds in that. But I think it's shot in such a way that is so.
It's like a documentary at some point, almost, with the wide shots. Like, and I mean, it looks beautiful, but I could kind of see what you're saying.
But the beauty for me doesn't come from the the shots itself, like how the shot is planned and how it is constructed and how it is blocked. Well, I say that, but the blocking in it is actually really good. How they put characters in
Reminding
the
me of
frame is really
the
good.
other note that I thought of when watching the movie, which is, hey, do you guys like windows?
Yeah,
Because we like windows here.
Love
we like
windows.
window shots, which are,
The
they have
blocking
their
is really
purpose.
good, but like the Irish countryside at times feels like it's, and maybe this is the intent. Maybe the intent is to have like this sort of weird disconnect, making it feel like this magical, isolated realm.
Mm.
But it makes it so the beauty of the Irish countryside feels like it is what is pulling up some of these, you know, not second unit shots, but these establishing shots, rather than it feels like a cohesive unit. Sometimes it feels like the shots are well, blocked. They don't feel as,
Connected.
tightly, framed, or
Mm.
it feels like there's something missing. And that could just be like a personal preference type of thing. But it's one of these things where I watched it and I was like, damn, I would like, and maybe also because the year prior I'd finished Wuthering Heights and I was like, damn, that book's really good. I should read more fucking Bronte sister ass shit. And it had that type of vibe, and I was just like, I think I would love this as a novelization almost more than a movie, because I didn't feel the visual elements contributed as much to the picture as it was. And I know that this could also be because I think the director has a background in sort of like stagecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah, no, that makes sense.
That could be contributing to it.
Yeah,
so that's what holds it back for me, at least.
Yeah, that take reminds me just, well, while we gotta keep this conversation going, that take just kind of reminds me of another movie that Brandon and I watched this year. I had that same feeling after finishing After Sun, where I'm like, I want this to be a book. I don't know if I like this as a film.
I don't know. I
gotta rewatch After Sun, but
okay.
I still have to watch it. It's one of those movies where I heard it and I saw the trailer and I was like, I'm sure this will be perfect for some people, but I could already tell that if I was going to watch that, I was going to come away with like it's fine. It's pretty good.
You know, all right.
After Sun's one of the few films where I literally told Kobe the last 5 minutes could make or break this film for me, but it was the last 30 seconds that made or broke the film for me. And
I got you.
The last minute is insane.
Oh man. All right. But in that going in that direction, Vishu, let's hear what your worst film of the year was for us.
Yeah, I kind of pride myself on not going out of the way to really watch bad movies. So this film, I didn't really watch this out of my choice. Kobe put it on. It's called The Eternal Daughter. Is an A24 film, and I was like, oh wow, A24, they never miss. They never miss. And I watched it, and it was just like, it's just so, I just kind of don't know. A lot of decisions in that film were made, and I just can't understand. I cannot fathom why they were made. And I think the biggest one I wrote, I think I read Jacob's review, was the double tilde swing thing in The Eternal Daughter, and that was probably one of the biggest flaws I've ever had with a film in terms of casting.
I mean, for context, Tilda Swinton plays two characters: her younger self and her mom.
And her mom. Yeah. And not only is the makeup not convincing because the younger Tilda Swinton still looks like an old Tilda Swinton, it just detached me from the film so badly. I just so detached from the film whenever Tilda Swinton was on screen, and she's on screen for like 90% of the film. And it's just watching her talk to herself was like sometimes comedic, and then she would always speak in the same tone to herself and reply to herself in the same tone. It was just, I don't know, this is a boring movie, and every once in a while I'm like, oh cool, this is eerie and promising, and then it would just throw you like a randomly absurd scene, like the receptionist's boyfriend who would always play loud music and then run away, or I mean, like, it was very clear from the beginning to me that like the mom was dead and she was obviously coping. Yeah, like that was obvious. But like they have those random scenes where like the dead mom's staring at her through the window, and I was like, oh, cool. That's where's this going? And it doesn't really go anywhere. Nothing really goes anywhere. They throw in random bad jokes, but at least it has some cool shots. Has some cool
They
eerie.
really made their good use out of that building they
What was your
rented.
score? What was your score?
I gave it. Yeah, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't a half star for me. Wasn't a 1 star. I mean, Marmaduke was a 1 star for me, but I got some enjoyment out of Marmaduke. But like, I gave it a 1.5. It's just like there are some shots. They're just, I feel like if they had just maybe casted someone that was old. And honestly, I also told Kobe, in the reveal, like for the dinner scene, where she's like, "Oh, birthday cake time," and then like it then cuts to her crying, and then like you see older Tilda Swinton's not there anymore. I think if they had just rolled the credits there, but then I would have fucking been like, "Oh, 2.5. I love that end."
Yeah, it should have been a cold. That's what I was alluding to earlier before the podcast. Was it should have been a cold cut ending, where when it cuts the black right there, you think it ends. Be like, oh, great, like I am satisfied, and then the movie just continues. It's like,
See, that's
She's
oh.
writing
so.
a book now. And
What
she's writing a book.
Yeah, what did you end up giving it, Kobe? Just to.
So I have two things. Realistically, this is probably a 1.5 movie. I give it a half star because I got so personally offended with this film that I was seething by the end. And the main thing was, one, the trailer absolutely misled the shit out of me. That's like
Yeah,
the one
that's
point.
a classic marketing maneuver of like, oh, we've got this artsy fartsy film, but we have to sell it to like normal people, so let's make it look like it's going to be a suspense horror thriller thing,
Yeah.
and it's not even close,
I thought
like
it
at
was
all.
and like I remember someone's like, "Oh, like it's a psychological horror. It's a ghost story." And I'm like,
There's no
"Okay, like
horror. There's
so
none.
yeah, so that's the
The
main reason
ghost
why."
story aspect is a little bit more true. The psychological horror, once again, it's sorry to just jump in, but like it's one of these things of like this is why sometimes classifying movies is really dog water
Mhm.
because people are just like, I don't know what to put this movie in, and it's just like
It's
just,
a movie.
Just say like it's about the relationship with your parent. Like that's it.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
So I think the reason why I have started was this movie had a lot of potential and they set up so many interesting aspects that they do not capitalize on towards the end or at all in the movie. Like I think the biggest crime in this one is I still believe that they generally set up a very eerie hotel. They had some good vibes going with it and a good scenery, and they really do nothing with it. And like they kind of play around with the horror aspect, but only just to leave it go and just don't do anything with it. And there's like a lot of unresolved plot lines that they start to introduce, like especially with the receptionist. She was just kind of there. The techno bumping boyfriend that shows up every night was just kind of there, I think, to infuriate Tilda Swinton's character. Like I don't know.
I
It
mean,
just felt
at least my interpretation is that it's a manifestation of things that are making her time worse there, and it not necessarily means that they are actually happening, but she's just having these like thoughts and memories and that kind of thing of like, oh man, like everything's going wrong, every night it manifests, she's all alone and that kind of thing. So I don't know, it's a weird movie to talk about. You keep going because this is your
yeah.
pick. So I
I
don't
only
want to.
got like a couple more things to say. Like I feel like this movie is just a worse version of A24's A Ghost Story. If anyone has ever,
I have not
I
seen
have
that.
seen a ghost story. This is true.
I think A Ghost Story does a similar kind of thematic experience that this is going for, just way better. Uh, and they actually go all in and commit with the vibes that they are trying to do. Whereas this movie just feels like a hodgepodge of stuff.
I
The other thing that I just want to point out, there is one shot in this movie that is so comical that when Brandon and I watched it, there is a shot where Tilda Swinton walks in and it looks like the fucking Office, where the camera quickly swings and zooms into the dog's face as it perks up. greatest shot in the movie because it
Well,
just
she got spooked by the dog being there because she didn't expect the dog to be there.
Why does it look like The Office? Like, it just completely switches like cinematography
Yeah,
style.
dog's like, Jim just pulled a prank on me in the hotel room again.
But yet, like,
God damn it.
like technically this movie is probably a 1.5 or a 2, but just for so many reasons in the overall package presentation, I just felt like seething by the end of that movie that I couldn't
Kobe,
do
you can't
anything.
give it a 1.5 until you rewatch it. So you clearly
There's no way I'm revisiting
Oh
this.
God, I will say real quickly, I don't have too many great things to say about it, but I did rate it higher. I rated it 2-star, and I think it's interesting that you guys said that it should have cold cut with her crying at the dinner table, because it was that moment and then the things that followed it that actually brought up the score for me to a 2, because I was riding a 1.5 until like the last 30 minutes. And I do agree that like the director was or the cameraman or whoever was like, oh my god, look at this fucking amazing set we have. We gotta use all of the cool shots we can use. And it's like, yeah, those are cool shots, but I don't think those are really in service of the thing you're trying to say as much as you think it is. And like, I don't know. That's like, I thought the more coping with loss like kind of came together and kind of contextualized the earlier scenes with her mom to a point that like made it like more in retrospect bearable, I guess. But like again, I still can't completely forgive the first half to 3/4 of that movie for being as slow and boring as it was, just on the value of the ending for me personally.
I'm kind of in the same boat with you, Nick. I don't fully agree with that the cinematography or some of the choices they make necessarily undercuts. It's just I don't find the message particularly compelling, and not to say like the message of like dealing with someone with losing your parent and having to go through that and like having that once again the eternal daughter sort of thing,
trying to like I would make up for lost time and like having not been there in her life.
And I think the movie like once you get to the end, kind of in retrospect you're like, okay, I see what the movie's doing, but the problem with that is that the biggest problem I have with this movie is that it, for me, doesn't feel like it ever picks a lane. And I feel like this is kind of some stuff you guys have said previously of like the point of the ghost story aspect of this movie is supposed to be like she is haunted by the memory of her mother. But the problem with that is that that's kind of the only thing the movie has to say for most of its runtime. And I understand, I having experienced grief in the past, like that shit is not like you work on it constantly. You just kind of like soak in it for a long time. And I feel like that's what the movie's trying to capture, but I don't think
soaking.
I don't think it captures it to an extent of like I'm someone who should be enjoying this type of movie. I love movies that are about mundane ass shit. But mundane ass shit is interesting, and I don't think this movie finds what she is doing that interesting, if that makes sense.
I mean, the topic of that, I guess, like, I had two thoughts based on what you just said. One is I think if there were a movie that deals with the topic of grief better, it would probably be, off the top of my head right now, would be The Babadook. I think The Babadook absolutely deals with the topic of grief better. And the second topic I had that just came up, Kobe. I'm not sure if you agree with this, but I thinking about what Jacob just said, I think After Sun does better what this movie is trying to do.
Yes, but After Sun also while we do got to move on.
I was just saying, keep it short on After Sun.
After Sun is a movie that relishes and lives in the small moments, and that is like where I want to rewatch After Sun because I was waiting for the big thing to happen in After Sun, and for those who have seen it, the big thing never really happens until the last 30 seconds, where it's like, oh, I completely went about this movie the wrong way.
Mm.
But tell me
Eternal
when you rewatch
Daughter,
it. Though. Tell me when you rewatch it. I think when I rewatch it, I might give it a higher rating. Oh my god.
Eternal Daughter doesn't have it, and the big moment that does happen in Eternal Daughter doesn't feel warranted.
Mm. I guess I would
I
disagree
find it
with you there.
warranted.
Yeah, I
But it came out of nowhere.
but okay. All right, let's move on to Vishu, your number one pick
Okay.
for movie
Well,
of the
so
year.
if it wasn't for what you took, which I
Right,
won't say
yes,
yet,
yes.
obviously. I honestly think of all the movies I've seen right now, it's kind of crazy because it was released at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Nobody thought it was gonna be good at all. People are like, "Wait, what the fuck is this?" They're making a sequel 10 years later, and it's what? And it's fucking Puss in Boots
And
2.
Avatar 2.
It's
Woo!
Puss in Boots 2. The Last Wish.
Oh,
I fucking that movie. I was like, I literally built my hype off on reviews coming out. People were like, "Wow, this is fucking amazing." And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna set the bar really high. And then I was like, the bar's already really high. And I went to watch it in theaters, and the opening sequence. Once that opening sequence finishes, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a good movie. And then from there, it's just like everything was just good.
Yeah.
I mean, Perito was kind of like okay, but he didn't take away from the film for me at all, which is why I give Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish a 5 out of 5. I
Mhm.
think it deals with adult themes spectacularly. It talks about anxiety, mortality, just like kinship, community with friends. I think the villains are fantastic. You have like 3 layers of villains.
Yeah.
Death was just eerie, beautiful, scary, intimidating, menacing, cool. Everything you want out of like a villain, a cartoon villain. You have Jack Horner, who is just comically evil and
Yeah.
just
And
funny.
they lean into that for
Yeah,
sure.
The
John Mulaney does a
cricket.
great job.
the
The
cricket goes,
cricket.
"No, you're horrible." It's so
What
good.
took you so long? They even managed to shove in. I love found family trope. They even managed to shove in a found family trope of Goldilocks,
Yeah.
who isn't really a villain, but it's kind of like more of like a tertiary villain for like a good bit of the film.
She's an antagonist, but not
Yeah.
necessarily the villain.
Right.
Yeah. So the animation also was beautiful. Literally rewatched the film casually, just put it on the second monitor multiple times, and I think I can still say I think my favorite sequence is Death's introduction in the entire film. Every time he's just when he says, "What's the matter?" Lies flashing before your eyes. I get goosebumps. Every time he says, "Pick it up," I'm like, "Oh my god!" And
Oh,
I don't know,
yeah.
just seeing the film does a great job setting expectations of Puss in Boots as this like unbeatable hero with his charisma and courage, beating a giant, and then having it kind of be like stomped by just this dog that comes out of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
I just love everything about that film. I could keep going.
Yeah.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. I love
I
that
mean,
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think I saw it the same night you did, and our reviews went up almost immediately after. And yeah, the Shrek franchise is back. I pretty much agree with everything.
Shrek's back, baby.
Shrek's back.
Yeah,
They brought him back.
I pretty much agree with everything Brandon has said. Like, I think this is the darkest, like, obviously one of the darkest Shrek movies that have existed now. One of the darkest just animated movies currently, alongside Pinocchio. Um,
Mhm.
and this movie just did everything right. Like, it's what I wanted. Like, this was definitely the most surprising movie for me of this
Mhm.
year because I didn't go near the reviews. I was like, okay, like I've been burned by Shrek way too many times now. Like Puss in Boots
Look
one,
at ex-lover.
yeah, not that good of a movie. Like Shrek 3 and 4, like they weren't that great. They went downhill. I'm like, I'm just gonna set my expectations low and go in. And I was absolutely just blown away with how they were able to take almost the DNA of Spider Verse and apply it to this movie and give this very flashy comic book esque movie, which fits super well for who Puss in Boots is.
Yeah.
And honestly, just DreamWorks casually dropping one of the coldest villains in a long time was just insane. Like Death has easily become one of the best animated villains I've seen, and honestly tops a lot of Marvel villains that you will see, like in terms of like current day
Well,
blockbusters.
you're setting the bar a little low there. If you ask
So,
me.
like, yeah, just overall a great, enjoyable film. I said it, and I will continue to say it. I think this is better than Shrek 2,
Mhm.
which I thought was the gold standard for these kinds of movies. But yeah, that I don't have really any negatives. I think the only reason why it's a 4.5 is like I think there's only like one scene that I just didn't completely vibe with because it just I don't know, kind of came out of nowhere for me. But I'm like, it doesn't take away from the experience.
What's the
Mhm.
scene?
Uh, I mean, if we're gonna spoil, I really didn't care
I think
for
we've definitely spoiled the movie already.
I didn't care for when
He's wearing boots the whole time?
Oh fuck!
I didn't care for when Goldilocks' family kidnapped Perito because like Perito already got kidnapped once, and I'm like, okay, we've already done this trope. I don't need to see this trope again.
Yeah.
So, but it was a funny scene. Like they definitely like kind of brought it back for me, where he just starts having the foulest language.
Yeah,
They start-
I was not expecting that. I was not expecting them to bring out the fucking censor
multiple
bleep.
Actual censor
Yeah.
swear words where you can, if you're not a a child and have the full knowledge of the arsenal of swear words at your disposal, you're like, not. There was an
Perito.
actual swear word in the script, and then they were like, "Don't worry, we'll just bleep it out."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just think like that story bit, it felt just kind of added on to kind of extend the length of the film for me, but everything else was just top notch.
Yeah, I
that's
was
fair,
gonna say like I think I have the same like minor gripe that brought it to a 4.5 instead of a 5 for me, where like it could have been a little bit tighter. I think there could have been a little bit of
I agree with
condensation on some stuff. But I think I put it best in my letterbox review, so I won't say much more than that. But like, it's a wonderful 9 lines. Like it is. I think it is a wonderful like little big twist on the core story behind It's a Wonderful Life, and like it does it in a fun way and they fucking bring in a cricket that sounds like the actor
like Jimmy Stewart.
yeah, and it's just like, oh my god, I fucking love this so much. I don't know. Yeah, it's a beautiful full story.
I'm not a locust.
You're horrible.
But yeah, that's where I got my 4.5 from.
I gotcha. I ended up at a 4 out of 5, kind of because of those script elements. Weirdly enough, an aspect of this film that its script made me think about is that it's solid, it's clean, it's pretty tight and simple. Even though it's dealing with these mature themes, it's still like a pretty like straightforward
Get the MacGuffin.
point A,
Yeah.
point B. You know where the character starts and you know where he's going to end. And so it kind of, and maybe this is because I had watched it again just last night, but it reminded me of an Avatar to an extent of like, this is a simple, clean, beautiful looking movie.
Avatar
where
1
you-
or 2?
1, because 1 is a lot more straightforward of like, you know that at the start of this movie, he is this. And by, the 2-minute mark, you're like, I understand. He's going to be this by the end of the movie. And then you just kind of like go from there. I mean, like, I love Kitty Softpaws. Pour one out for best thief in the world. I put it in my letterbox review, but like, I'm glad that it's the best thing is like, Kobe, you're kind of saying like how this is the darkest one. I think it's dark, but in a way that because people constantly talk about sort of dark and maturity in these sort of interchangeable ways that I don't particularly like, where a lot of people just go, dude, Game of Thrones is so dark and mature. And what the average layman usually means is like, dude, they like kill each other and have like sex on screen. Isn't that crazy? And like Puss in Boots is an actual movie where it's like, no, this guy is like trying to work through that he's like
going to die
one day. And as someone who also will die one day, I thought it was cool that they made death so hot.
He's just like me, for real.
I do not want to fuck the wolf. I just want him to kill me.
I was so,
Wanted to
look,
kill me.
I had already seen the posts. I was like, "There's no way I'm going in there and I'm coming out wanting to fuck that wolf." And I went in and he started talking, and I was like, "Why'd they make him so hot?"
Oh man. Okay.
But anyway, number 1 OTP, Puss in Boots and Kitty Soft Claws.
Pause.
Sorry.
Come on.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I
even
said it,
remember
I
the
messed
one
up.
he wanted us to pour one out for.
Yeah,
Not a
yeah,
true
yeah.
fan. Okay,
Those two, they're so cute together.
I think I do want to just jump to me because I think my worst pick of the year is going to be the one that we all want to talk about a good amount, and I want to make sure Kobe gets his say in because
we need to time box this to like 10 minutes max.
We're gonna time box this movie to try and best to time box it 10 minutes. My worst pick of the year was Jurassic World Dominion. This movie was the finale to Colin Trevorrow's follow-up series of movies in the Jurassic franchise.
Trilogy, Nick. I
Yeah,
know they
sorry,
don't
it's
seem that
trilogy.
connected, but they are a trilogy.
I don't know if it is. It's really hard to buy it when you watch Jurassic World Dominion after watching Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Oh god, it's all so bad, man. Like, it already was kind of a step down with the first movie, and then the second movie's insane, but I think I've come around from watching it with you, Jacob, and Kobe and everyone else. It's just like, it's funny to a degree. Jurassic World Dominion is just painful. It's just, like, actually painful, and when Kobe, or Jacob and I saw it in the theater together, and there was somebody sitting next to us that asked us to move over because we were riffing too hard on it as we were watching it for the first time, and both of us came out of that movie. I think you said it, Jacob, was just like, man, I hope he got what he was looking for out of that movie, because we had no idea what could be found of value in that film. The only reason, I'll just say real fast, I gave it a 1 star, because Jeff Goldblum was just having fun, and I think he's like the Connor from Detroit Become Human in that movie. But unfortunately, Jeff Goldblum could not save Jurassic World Dominion the way Connor saved Detroit for me.
Your theater experience just reminds me of how depressed Brandon and I sounded at the end of that movie, where we sounded like we just went through the war. We came out of that, and we were like, I'm like, Bichu, do you want to watch some Christopher Nolan to make up for this? And Bichu's like, I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed.
It is exhausting. Yeah.
It's just so bad. It's like I said this before in my Letterboxd review. It's just there's nothing in this film. It's like there's like a sandwich. It's like I see a sandwich. This film is a sandwich, and when I take a bite out of it, it's like I just took a bite out of air, and I'm looking into the sandwich, and it's just a void. There's no content, and I'm just so surprised because the movie is like almost 3 hours long.
Yeah,
it's 2.5 hours long. 2 hours 27 minutes.
For the entirety of this discussion, I'm just gonna be like the actress who plays the little girl in this, and just be blank the entire time.
Well, you also have to be British, so can you do that too?
Oh, and you have to be British.
And then you have to do the dinosaur force hand, just like Papa. Yeah, you gotta hold your hand out for the 15th billionth time.
Nobody in this film knew why they were there.
No. If there's a drinking game for this movie, it's finish your drink.
What he was doing.
Did he know what he was cooking?
Murky, can you pull up Exhibit A of this movie?
Oh, of course I can.
So, for context, there is a Tim Cook-looking motherfucker who is the main villain of this movie, who has one of the worst freak-out scenes I've ever seen put to screen.
All right.
I was like, wow, this is bad.
See.
Counterpoint.
Okay.
It's so funny. So
here, let me pull up the scene in question real quick here for everyone to. I've got it live on stream now on our Discord view. Here it is. All right. There he is, the man himself.
Dodson.
We got Dodson here.
They couldn't even get the original actor
because the original actor is apparently a fucking pedophile.
Yeah, the original actor is a child pedophile. But so like they saw that and like, you know what? Yes, we know he's a child pedophile, but you know we really need that nostalgia. So let's just bring his character in anyway.
Bring in Tim Cook.
We didn't have enough nostalgia, but by not only having the fucking scientist from original Jurassic Park, who wasn't even there for that long, so it's like that's already an ass pull. But for this one, we pulled out all the stops, guys. We brought Jeff Goldblum back from the second movie when he was just in the ending monologues. We heard you guys hated him only being in the end because that was just a real tease. So we also got Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler, who are also having no idea what they're doing in this movie about fucking locusts. Because that's what the movie's about.
So, hang on a second. So two things. Bichu and I both gave it 0.5s.
Oh yes.
Started it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with Laura Dern's character, I can make a somewhat of a like nonsensical argument of why she is there. Alan Grant was just put there. He was just there, like just trying to look like he knew what was going on.
Kobe, I think you forgot. Dr. Alan Grant was in the first Jurassic Park movie and the third Jurassic Park movie, and that's why he's there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Jurassic Park movie. Jurassic Park 3 is a much better film than this.
I
Almost
concur.
in the entirety of the Jurassic World series.
There were mosquitoes.
Yes,
in the first
Second
Jurassic
best
Park movie.
Jurassic Park movie. I agree, Kobe. Thank you.
Whoa, hold on now. Don't be dissing Jeffy Boy in the Lost World Electric Boogaloo, okay?
I think I can because
No,
the Lost World is
Himbo
900
supremacy.
years long, and at least 3 is short, and it has silly.
Lost World is bad. Jurassic Park 3 is fun bad.
I will be a the Lost World defender until I die. But that's not the movie we're talking about. We're talking about the objectively worst movie of all of them.
I also want to bring up, because I had to rewind and show Beach, like, oh my god, this is the worst product placement I've ever seen in a movie, where Chris Pratt, he kind of vaults over the railing and he stomps down, and they hold the shot for like 5 seconds on the Timberland boots to make sure
The Timbs!
it is Timberland boots.
Oh
Well,
my
we need to
god.
make sure someone like Chris Pratt, they got to know that he's dripped out, so that way they buy the product.
Died.
Jacob, what was
Anyway.
your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts? You already know my thoughts. You saw the movie.
I know, but for the audience.
I think this movie. Oh, Nick, I don't know if you know this. I knew I was on camera. I was going to say it anyway. Yeah, this movie's, to me, it's funny as fuck, dude. It's so incompetent. Like that's. I know I've already said it like 5 times already, but there's a reason that Habitat Murders stays at a half star and Jurassic World Dominion doesn't go to a half star. That's because Habitat Murders isn't even funny in its incompetence. It's just incompetent. This is incompetent to a whole nother level because of how much money is involved, the people involved, and the actual filmmaking decisions being made during the construction of this movie. You watch it and go, huh? You
Yes,
did that?
we did that in the
You
theater
made that
multiple times.
And I've already told this to you guys, but the scene that encapsulates the most, and it comes at the very start of the movie, is when little orphan girl rides her bike around town and then goes to the lumber yard where there's a dinosaur sleeping in the lumber yard, and there's a bunch of lumber workers being like, we don't know how to get this dinosaur out of here. And then the little orphan girl whispers into one of their ears, and they go, oh. And then they take out a flare and then use it in order to pull the dinosaur away. As a reference to Jurassic Park, which is so fucking funny because it shows the level of incompetence we're talking about, where the point that is even used in Jurassic Park 1 is because when that movie was made, scientists had assumed that the T-Rex hunted based off of movement, where it was like they want to see movement, and that means that they know it's 100% alive and they want to go kill it. This was before we knew about the extent to which T-Rex
they had consultants that they talked to,
but
they tried to know.
It made some amount of sense.
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, that makes sense in the context of this movie. What has happened is that someone went, remember that scene from Jurassic Park 1? We should put that scene in our movie, but put no additional thought. Because even when look, I watched fucking Ghostbusters Afterlife. That movie's stinky, but at least there are some times where they're borrowing things from previous movies, and there's just like a modicum of thought put into it. Not a lot of thought, just like a little bit. And you're like, okay, this is dumb, but it's not like incompetent. Jurassic World Dominion is like it's nothing but a planning sheet where they only wrote down the first thing and then wrote no substance. It's a script made up of titles
Yeah.
and chapters, and then the movie ends and they have credits.
And then they get paid $1 billion.
And then they get paid. And they're like, huh?
Huh?
And then Colin Trevorrow comes out and does an interview and goes, maybe I shouldn't have made those movies. Oh well.
Oh.
Ooh, baby.
I don't even want to like talk about this. It's just because there's so much wrong. There's wrong. Like
It's
also thinking about the
Sorry.
flare scene. There's another scene where they frame it exactly the same way, where Laura Dern stands up out of the truck, takes off her sunglasses, and like
Oh
amazing.
my
It's the
god.
dumbest thing she's looking at. It's like
It's just
dig
a
site.
field.
Yeah,
It's just a
This
field.
movie, I think the summary of this movie is remember the time? Just that. For the whole movie. Except they do it worse every time. Without question. And then anything new they introduce is fucking even worse somehow. Like
I don't know. I don't know if Bichu's gonna bring it up, but the Gigantosaurus, the tallest, the biggest dinosaur that is ever known to man, is as big as the T-Rex.
There's no difference. No difference.
it's the
at all.
frog DNA, guys. It's the frog DNA, okay? Any inconsistencies or illogical dinosaur behavior, including a herbivore wanting to see movement to go after its food, it's because of the frog DNA, okay? That's it. We can wash that away.
Week. They really nerfed them this patch. Hopefully they get better next patch. Jesus.
I do have until 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Jurassic World Dominion was my worst pick, and I think it was also Jacob's, but I stole it from him.
You
So
did steal it from me.
Yeah,
So I think I'm a controversial pick.
very, very poo-poo stinky. My top pick for movie of the year was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which was actually Beachu's top pick before I stole it from him. So
It was gonna
basically,
be
I
my
stole things
pick
from
as
two
well.
people. Okay, yeah. There's a lot.
It's also at the top of my list too. So
I think we could agree that it was kind of movie of the year. Like,
kind of like the movie of the year, honestly.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, it was, even not just Among Us, like the amount of it won like so many awards.
yeah,
So many.
like just very pretty almost, if not entirely objectively, like one of the best movies, or the best movie of the year. I don't know. I don't think there's much I could say, or any of us could say that hasn't been said already. I just think, the simplicity. Okay, I'll we got our times, but I'll keep my thing short by saying like the beautiful way in which they deliver, again, going back to how they deliver the message of like you have to enjoy, or try to enjoy everything in life, like, because the fact that we're here at all is fucking spectacular. Like the way they delivered that message is probably one of the most visually engaging and tear-jerking things I've ever seen in my life.
it feels like an actual blockbuster.
Yeah.
It feels like what blockbuster filmmaking
Could be.
could be.
Yeah. But that's why I gave it 5 stars, easy, without question.
Fucking beautiful film.
I gave it
Okay.
5 stars. I can't add much more to the conversation that has happened around this movie. It's just a beautiful, absurd masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
4 out of
I
5
also
stars.
gave it
Like,
five.
sorry, go ahead, Beachy. Go ahead. I was talking.
I gave it 5 stars. I watched it with my Asian mother, and then at the end of the film, I was
Wait,
like,
your
"You
mother's
see-"
Asian?
Yeah, I know, crazy. And at the end of the film, I was like, "You see what you're like?" And she was like, "Nah, it doesn't make any sense to me."
Wait, no! Please don't tell me she actually said
Literally
it doesn't make
And
sense.
Everything,
She was like,
everywhere,
"It doesn't
all
make
at
any sense
once
to me." It was a
moment.
fun film, though. I was just like,
Jacob, we have a contender to go alongside the last
No,
dual reaction
Nick,
with my dad.
Incorrect. Your dad coming to the end of the last duel and saying, "So who do you think was telling the truth?" is an icon of American relationship with the cinema. It's
Such a funny fucking response to the last.
"Oh my god!"
because here's the thing: Bichu's movie is about that relationship existing, and then Bichu just proved that relationship with it. Your dad had a filmmaker put the words "the truth" up on the screen, And then at the end of the movie, he goes, "I don't know which one of them was telling the truth. Who do you think it was?"
Oh God! Yeah. Good. That's hilarious though. Your mom didn't realize.
I mean,
Figure it out.
my everything I said in this film's already been said. My mother is my mother, and that final sequence is amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Also,
final sequence is so good. It's
They did actually trick me out when they killed her off.
yeah.
Fell
Oh,
off the
that was
beacon.
a
I was
quick
like,
trick
wait,
out.
hold on, what's going on here?
I thought I got sequel baited. I was like, oh no, like there's a
Yeah,
sequel
you
coming.
were worried it was about to be like, dude, it's Dune Part 1 all over again. Fuck me.
Because they only ever flash up the part 1 everything, and you never see part 2 everywhere again. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, part 2's coming next year, you son of a bitch.
Oh, man.
That's such a good movie.
Yeah, 4.5 out of 5. I think the script could have been tightened up just a little bit, shave off some of the edges towards the start, just because it has a long ramp up, and while I think most of the stuff on that ramp upward is intentional, I think you can kind of cut down a little bit on the runtime here and there with some of the sequences and still be as effective.
Are you telling me
when I
you
say
didn't
that,
want to
that's
see?
only in the service of don't cut anything of the last like
Right.
hour, because
Yeah.
that shit's
Banging.
fire all
Yeah.
the way through.
Yeah. But we would have missed out on Jamie Lee Curtis doing taxes with the main, with our main characters.
So you
Come
want my
on.
hot
That was another
take?
important, story.
Let's hear it. Let's hear a hot take.
My hot take about that is I was really worried because at the start of the movie, because I was like, is this going to be another one of these things where they're like, can you believe it? The goddamn government's coming after this small business. And then by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, okay, I'm really glad that wasn't what it is.
Yeah.
Everyone's just doing their job, and maybe you should.
I know, Jacob. You were worried that the poor Asian family was avoiding paying their taxes. I get it. You gotta make sure everyone pays their taxes, even poor Asian people. I get it.
IRS Stan Jacob, as we know, looking out.
I'm just glad that they depicted it, which is like the IRS doesn't actually want to like the IRS would much rather have you work out some way to get this fucking shit solved before they have to actually like do
more work,
the additional amount of fucking paperwork in order to hunt down that money.
This karaoke machine is a business expense, Jacob. Come on. People at the laundry machine need to sing.
Yeah. But
I mean, of the business expenses, that is the closest one to a business expense because that karaoke machine gets a lot of fucking use at that laundry.
That's true. That's true. Okay, real quick. Or not real quick. We can go. Kobe might just have to step out. But that was my top pick. So Jacob, what was your worst pick for 2022?
Pick, even though I kind of had trepidation, was kind of wanting to go back, but not everyone has seen this movie. So I'm locked in to Bullet Train, a movie that I think hides within it my favorite type of movie, which is about fate and interesting aspects about like your role in the universe and relationships with one another. But unfortunately, much like fucking Benoit Blanc, I stumbled in to the editing bay and found a fucking crime scene. Because that shit was murdered DOA on a fucking every aspect of that film in the editing bay, but not just in the editing bay. Like, I think there are some very intrinsic aspects of this film which I understand why people had fun with it, but
I had fun with it.
Like, doesn't it has ideas about how to depict Japanese society, where maybe it's because, you know, I have friends who live in Japan. I have a lot of interest in making sure that when you're depicting a culture, like, I at least have the information to be like, hey, something doesn't feel right. And there are aspects of that movie where you watch it and you go, they use the Shibuya fucking neon signs, but only use it as like setting. Like, it's never actually intrinsic. It's just like, I don't know, with what they got in Japan. They got the neon signs. Oh, all right, we'll put those as like the chapter titles and that kind of thing. Oh, we have two famous Japanese actors. They'll be like bit players who don't get that many lines.
Interesting. Yeah, that's context I wasn't aware of while going into it. So I guess yeah.
A good example that someone brought up is the mascot that they have on the train doesn't feel like an actual mascot they would have in Japan. It feels like an interpretation of what someone would think they would have as a mascot in Japan.
Interesting. Yeah,
and I kind of understand that take and kind of agree with it. I also just don't think the script is as smart as it thinks it is. Because, like I said, the best sequence in that movie is the Fiji water sequence where, you know, a character explains to Brad Pitt, like, hey, I know your life fucking sucks, but like sometimes you're just going through a string of bad luck because you're getting to a place where you're able to do a good thing. Mm-hmm. And the point is that it cuts through the Fiji water while it travels throughout the entire train, and how it interacts with the story, and how these aspects that we don't have control of because we at times are so like egocentric play into a wider context of a narrative, which I think is interesting, but the movie only really kind of says that and doesn't really do much with that idea outside of it. And also the Michael Shannon of it all is also one of the most insane fucking things I've ever seen in my life, where Michael Shannon's revealed as the kingpin of the Japanese Yakuza after his hostile takeover it. And you're like, this guy is not the head of a crime syndicate. I'm sorry. Also, the whole Joey King aspect is really fucking dumb and stupid, and I hate it. And I'm not one of those people who goes around and be like, Joey King, bad actor, because I think Joey King at times is a really good actor. But I think the direction she was given for this picture is
that was very weird, just all around.
Yeah, as the kids say these days, it was a little bit fucking cringe, dude. I did not like Joey King's schoolgirl assassin aspect.
Yeah,
I don't like that either. Joey King, I think Joey King was pretty cringe.
I think that might be going back to your whole thing of like not understanding or respecting Japanese culture of like, schoolgirl uniforms, right? That's like a thing Japan is known for. Let's stick this white woman in a schoolgirl uniform, and she has a funny backpack. I interpret
that character with that amount of like potential malice, because even ignoring that potential malice, it's like the character is so ungodly annoying. And I understand maybe that's the point they're going for, but when that character then has to have an emotional like, dad, you never pay attention to me, you're a bad father scene later on, I just go, why are we having this scene? I hate this character. The text tells me to hate this character. I don't care that she doesn't have a good relationship with her father. She's a murderer.
You're also doing this in the last like 20 minutes of the movie, when if you wanted to set this up, you should have set it up earlier, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. Kobe, do you have any thoughts or counter thoughts, just so we can grab you before you have to go?
My opinion of this movie is very skewed, and I think I've told this story many a time, so I give it a 3 out of 5. I was drunk while seeing this movie in an IMAX theater in Seattle. I just had
arguably one of the best times and modes of substance to see it under.
So, yeah, I really don't remember much of this movie. I haven't revisited it since, but I think I do agree with what I do remember. The Joey King character was just god awful. I think some of the cameos just felt weird, like they like completely flesh out one of the villains and kill them off like 2 seconds later.
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny, but also like I did
multiple times actually.
The Channing Tatum cameo was fucking hilarious. Like that just came out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny. I think what really held the movie together for me was Tangerine and Lemon.
Yes, this is Kobe. This is the problem with the movie. This is what I forgot to bring up. The movie is sold in the actual film, not just in the advertising, because in the advertising it's sold like this, but in the actual film it's sold as like Brad Pitt is the main character of this thing.
He's not. It's a Tangerine
And
and
he's-
Lemon movie.
Yes, he's not the main character. He's should be a side character who's fun, but he's not really the main character. Tangerine Lemon, this is their story quite explicitly in the text.
Yeah.
But also it's kind of an ensemble picture, but because of because of how it's edited, it doesn't work in either context, and you're just kind of stuck in this middle part where you're like, who
I do
did
gotta
this?
step out, but
Yeah.
like the movie was fun in the end for me. It just has a lot of issues, and that movie could have been trimmed down by like half an hour and got a much
Yes.
tighter viewing experience.
Mhm.
I'm gonna send my review for your best pick in the chat, so just read it. Then.
Okay.
But yeah, good talking to you, to everyone.
Yeah, thanks for stopping
Thanks,
by.
Toby.
Have fun at dinner.
Yeah,
don't-
bullet train, more like fucking bullet to my brain.
I mean, according to the reviews, I was the one that probably least enjoyed Bullet Train. I thought
Really?
I don't know. I didn't like it. I thought it was boring. It wasn't like offensively boring. I thought a lot of the jokes were kind of bad.
Yeah.
I did not laugh a lot. Hold on. I gave it like the pity laugh, like the like it tried to be funny laugh a lot of the time. I never found it really funny at all. I didn't really like. I was never really attached to any of the characters. I didn't get attached to a single one of them. Not even Andrew Koji, who was in
Yeah.
fucking Warriors, that in the show I like. I was just like, okay, cool. That's his thing. That's his thing.
Characters are just there in the story. You're just like, why are you
The
here? And they
editing-
don't do anything.
At least the way the fucking like the narrative, like the backstory, and then the introductions were structured was kind of nauseating for me.
Mm.
And I was just like, this is so boring, man. I don't care. I
It's-
just don't give a fuck.
It's this aspect of filmmaking that is like show don't tell. But the problem is that a lot of people will then take that as like, oh, if you just show the scene rather than telling someone, that's what you mean by show don't tell. But that's not true. Show don't tell is like using cinema in order to display these like this history.
Yeah.
Without you needing to, like Bichu said, fucking cut to a completely out of context backstory shot that doesn't really contribute much additional information.
Yeah.
And just kind of waste time in the movie. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, Bichu, but
No,
that's how
yeah,
I felt.
kind of like remember when Lemon and Tangerine were talking about their job they did with like
Yeah.
113 people killed.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that fucking sucked. I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be an exciting sequence. And then when the sequence was over, I was like, that was so like not funny and forced, and it was just like. I really wasn't buying Lemon and Tangerine's likability at all. I was just like, okay, I know what they're going for. I'm not buying it. Let's see if it works. They get further in the film, and the whole train thing with the
Mhm.
stickers. I was just like, I don't know. Maybe people find it funny, but I found it forced and unfunny.
That was the one. At first, I was like, "Oh no, this is going to be awful," and maybe just because it was because Brian Tyree Henry was the one delivering it, and so I was like, you know what? This is the one joke that's actually working for me by the end of this. I like the Diesel bit, but
Yeah.
the thing with that is that, like we were talking about, like the Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson fucking team up. The problem is so emblematic of the film where I'm watching it, and this is the same thing I had with all with the entire movie. Was I got 2/3 of the way through, and I was like, I'm having an okay time, and then I stopped and went, why am I having an okay time? And then I went, if this didn't have actors with charisma carrying this thing on their fucking backs,
Yeah.
like the director should pay for their fucking goddamn chiropractor because that's how much fucking effort they were putting in. Where I'm like, if it wasn't for the innate charisma of Sandra Bullock, Brad Pitt, Aaron Taylor Johnson, that's a weird fucking sentence I didn't expect to say, but Brian Tyree Henry, and that core cast, this movie's like, to me, like unwatchable because the only thing that this movie has is the charisma of its main cast.
Yeah. I think it sounds like, because if Kobe gave it a 3 and both of you are negative on it, I gave it a 3.5. So like I was probably, I guess, the highest on it as far as my watching experience. I don't know. I think that charisma really did carry these characters into, like, even those flashback scenes. I thought they were funny, and I liked Lemon and Tangerine's like background, and fucking the Diesel bit was good for me. I don't know. I just thought like it was character. I thought I think you made a good point where I would imagine like Brad Pitt as sort of like the cohesive glue that attaches the rest of these characters together where they otherwise wouldn't, also for like plot reasons that they reveal at the end of the movie, which I also thought was kind of a funny joke because I think somebody told me that it was just like Brad Pitt is basically playing a Ryan Reynolds character, and spoilers for the end of the movie, they get Ryan Reynolds to cameo for 5 seconds as the person that everybody thought Brad Pitt was. Like, they thought he was the Ryan Reynolds assassin, but he's a different assassin, so everybody wants to kill him because they thought he was the Ryan Reynolds assassin. I thought that was funny, and I thought that they all did a good job, like, delivering their jokes well enough that it got legitimate laughs out of me. But I did agree that you live by the editing bay, you die by the editing bay, and they kind of died a lot in that editing bay for that movie. So I don't know, but I still came out with a positive experience overall. So
I mean, once again, like watching the movie, I was like, I understand why people had a fun ride with this, pun intended. They got on the bullet train, it went fast. You got to the end, and you're like, wow, what a pleasant experience. But the problem is that some people will get on the bullet train and be like, this is just a fast train, dog. It's not. I don't think this train's that good.
Fast train. It's not actually that fast, guys.
What did you guys give it for star ratings on Letterboxd?
Yeah, I gave it the lowest. I gave 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 2.5, but I think if I were to watch it again, it'd probably end up going down just because,
because of your malice.
Once again, over time, like maybe this was the right pick because The Northman is one where I can definitively say it's a 5 out of 10 movie for me, where there are aspects of it which I think are fantastic, and there are other aspects of it that I think are poopy, stinky, doo-doo. But Bullet Train is one where I can easily see myself dropping it down like another notch.
Dropping it down more.
Because it's sort of like this weight game of like, okay, on this viewing experience, is the charisma going to pull me through or not? If not, like the ship's going down, dog. Like,
yeah, I got you.
Time to talk about a good movie. Ooh.
Time to talk about a very good movie.
Yeah, let's hear the final movie of today's showing. What is your top pick, Jacob, for movie of the year?
I'm flying a plane. What's that? A
good movie.
Maybe it's Top Gun Maverick. A movie that I like so much. It made me fucking furious when I left the theater because for context, have you two seen No, Beachy, you haven't seen Top Gun,
No,
right?
I just saw it. I just saw Top Gun Maverick.
Oh my god, Beekman's here at the exact
I didn't even bring him in. Somebody else saw him and decided that it was the will of God to bring in Beaks for this discussion. But I think, you know what? If there was ever a person to join us for this movie, it would be Beaks. Hello?
He's ready.
This conversation is being monitored for anti-American sentiment.
But you were mad coming out of the theater because, Jacob.
Because Beekman's seen Top Gun 1. Nick, have you seen Top Gun 1?
I have not seen Top Gun 1.
Okay,
no.
So perfect. Now we have the perfect split between people who have seen Top Gun and those who have not seen Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like Top Gun. I think Top Gun is kind of and then the last 5 minutes of like actual plane shit, I'm like, yeah.
So I think the nostalgia for the first Top Gun comes from it comes from like the very 80s nostalgia and like the glossiness of that film, all the music that's involved in it that they created, the rising star of Tom Cruise, obviously the cast in that film, and then the other love for Top Gun comes from people like me who are like, yo, the F-14 Tomcat fucking rips. Look at this shit. But I mean, the first Top Gun movie, it's a sports movie. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Top Gun 1 is a sports movie. It's about like, oh, we're at this competition. Who's going to be the best pilot? And like, yeah, there are like these sort of very tangential, very like brushed over references to the Cold War. They, much like the second movie, they never really identify. But if you know your history, it's clearly kind of based on sort of what was going on in the Mediterranean with
Hey, how come
Libya.
that enemy fighter looks like a MiG?
That's
It's a MiG-28. Oh, cough. It's definitely not a Northrop F5 Tiger that we painted black with red stars on it.
Oh man.
Ignore the fact that in other scenes in this movie, they fly the same plane, but
I got such a kick out of the fucking certified military industrial complex moment where they're like, okay, we need to make American military look good, but still have an underdog story. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the F-35 as the villain's planes, and then also have the F-35
that they just refer to as the 5th generation fighter.
Right. Yeah, the totally not F-35.
Well, it's an Su-57 Felon. It's a real plane.
Okay.
Well,
wow,
real
Berkey's
plane.
just got spotted.
But don't they have F-35s also?
Well, no. The F-35 shows up in this movie in the beginning when they do the tribute sequence to the opening of the original Top Gun. You see it taking off the cloud. That's the only footage of the F-35 because obviously they couldn't film in the F-35 because it's a single seat airplane. There's no second seat for the
I totally thought that one of the enemy's planes
F-35 super hyper classified. No way they're letting anybody film for extended periods of time.
No, not from the cockpit. I just thought there were shots of enemy planes that were F-35s.
No, the 5th generation fighter is a Su-57 NATO reporting name Felon.
Okay.
And there's like 9 of them in the world because lol Russia, lol. Gestures broadly at the past 10 months.
Yeah.
So, but apparently this unnamed country, Iran.
There could be any list of countries that have a mountainous climate that also is trying to
enrich
nuclear weapons.
Also are the only country in the world who still operates the F-14 Tomcat.
It could be any of them.
It could be anybody.
It's Nostalgia-Vakia, okay? They kept the Tomcat around because they knew Tom Cruise would be operating in their airspace in the near future.
Anyway, the first movie is like a sports movie. It's very flashy. It's like Ridley Scott literally before he directed a lot of films was directing music videos and stuff like that. So it's a very music video-esque experience. It's not really a great character-driven film or film with a lot of stakes other than these guys want to be the best and Goose died and Maverick feels real bad about that. That's actually the most realistic part of the movie is the way Goose dies because it was a real problem with the F-14 Tomcat that happened. Like,
wow.
That's the most a lot of the stuff in the original Top Gun is like not very accurate to how air combat works, but which is something that is better in the sequel, much better.
Anyway, the moral of Top Gun 1 is don't slam your head into the plexiglass.
The moral of Top Gun 1 is if you are on a flat spin in an F-14 Tomcat and you need to do an ejection of both the Rio and the pilot, the Rio should initiate the canopy release, wait a few seconds, and then command eject.
So, anyways, Top Gun Maverick, Jacob.
When I need to eject from the plane like that.
Goose should have known that. You should have read the NATOPS.
The enemy knows the NATOPS.
Yeah, well, the enemy would have survived his ejection.
So going along kind of the lines that Beekman was talking about, which is if Top Gun 1 is and I'm stealing this from someone else who said it because I think this descriptor is really good. If Top Gun 1 is a sports movie, Top Gun Maverick is a heist movie where you need to gather the best crew.
That's true. They have the board and everything. They have the heist board.
Make sure that they're capable of conducting the plan. Do a couple test runs to make sure you're ready to go. And the entire movie is leading up to let's watch this group of people pull off the craziest shit you've seen. And that's kind of the best part where I really enjoyed, the first 2/3 of Top Gun Maverick, where I'm like, okay, this is fun. There's like good, emotional stakes with like Maverick dealing with the fact that he has this complicated history with Goose's son because he still feels burdened with the fact that he feels it's his fault that Goose died, and
Not the
so
plane, it's the pilot.
yeah. So you pre in between the two movies, a lot of backstories happened, and this is kind of the bullet train thing of like, imagine if Top Gun Maverick had a elongated 10-minute scene where it's just them doing like fucking board work. That's how Bullet Train feels. In Top Gun Maverick, there's maybe like one or two flashbacks where they're like a minute to too long, and they're just like, you get it. It's over.
Here's
It's
the
fine.
clip from the movie of Goose playing Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
and
I
he's-
like that
there's
scene. I
young
like it a
Rooster
lot.
with him, with Meg Ryan. Yeah, and you're like, oh man.
Mhm.
Yeah. You get
Yeah.
you get a reminder that Maverick is a bad romantic partner because he is much like Puss in Boots, he is incapable of choosing the person he loves over the legend of Maverick.
Yeah, and I know there's been a lot of criticism of the Penny Benjamin character in this whole romantic arc in this film.
It's
Well,
us.
I like
I liked it because it's like, oh, that's a clever reference to the first movie. In the first movie, they talk about him.
It's a clever
Daniel,
reference to
Admiral's
them
daughter.
making sure that they didn't imply that Maverick was gay, so they gave him a female love interest.
Well, he has a female love interest in the first movie. They have
Yeah,
sex,
for the
but
same
he-
reason.
Okay, all right. Look, the homoerotic overtones of
Good
that
correction.
have been
Good
discussed.
catch on yourself there. It's definitely overtones, and not undertones.
I mean, whether intentional or not, that's another debate. But that's been discussed ad nauseum.
Yes, yeah.
But I did like it as an element of like, again, a lot of this movie is about Maverick's past, catching up with him and him confronting his what his how that relates to his future. And I think this is an interesting element of it. And you know, you can quibble about whether they should have brought Kelly McGillis back or not. Frankly, I will say, as someone who's, I'm curious to what Jacob thinks, but as someone who saw the first Top Gun, they don't really have any romantic chemistry in that movie
They
whatsoever.
do not.
The romantic chemistry is, yo, we're just gonna play Berlin's "Take My Breath Away" 5 fucking times in this movie. I'm not lying, actually. They play that song.
Oh
5 times.
God.
And
Take
it's
my
like,
breath away.
bomb, bomb.
the most non-sexy sex scene in a film you've ever seen, but it's still glossy like it's a music video. So you're like,
Yeah.
maybe someone's having sex behind that film grain. I can't really tell.
Yeah. I can't hear anything because it's bomb, 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 bomb. Take my breath away. It's just
Oh,
like,
man.
okay.
But
But
I
yeah,
thought it worked a
anyway.
lot better in this movie. I think he has great Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly have great chemistry. The relationship is more interesting because
Yeah.
she's an old flame, and also she is like very familiar with the ins and outs of the military. She was, she's the daughter of an admiral. Like it's the character dynamics work a lot better
Yeah,
than they did in the first movie.
the only problem I had with it is there's literally 5 seconds at the end of the movie where it shows her coming back to Maverick. I was like, don't have that scene. I don't want that scene in it. I want her
Yeah.
to be like, fuck you, dude.
I'm not
have-
getting burned like your last girlfriend.
Because that's I feel like that's the only thing that undercuts it. That's the only aspect I don't like because it undercuts what if Puss in Boots is the Last Wish. It's about a guy coming to terms with his mortality and not settling down, but coming to an acceptance and realizing that his legendary status is more suited to be built off of the people who are around him. That's the lesson he learns. And Maverick is the opposite. Maverick is the guy who goes, no, I would never use the Last Wish in order to give myself my 9 lives back. And then at the end of the movie, someone goes, Maverick, we need you back. And he goes, give me that fucking wish, boys. I'm back in. Woo, baby.
Oh God.
Although they do say that like he's done in the Navy. in this.
It
Well,
grounded.
we'll see.
You're grounded.
But
Yeah,
if he
but
had the
that's
chance,
psychopath-
if
the
he had the
first thing
chance to go again, he would take it. Like, yeah.
The first thing he does after retiring from the Navy is he's like, I gotta go back to my barn and keep making the planes. I can't be on the ground.
Planes. Still like planes.
yeah, but
You still
he
like planes, but you don't gotta be in a fucking dinky ass piece of shit that looks like it's gonna fall out of the air every time you take it up.
Oh,
Hey, that's a
man.
very nice P-51 Mustang.
I mean, he's preserved it well. It's better
Yeah.
than the other ones, but still, that's one of those things where you're like, hey man, you sure the FAA cleared that shit with you before you took
Yeah.
off?
he got Iceman to clear it. It's fine. It definitely totally.
Iceman's dead. If this
Yeah.
film.
I don't know if you remember this.
Iceman.
Iceman fucking he goes to Iceman's fucking.
But well, no, but
funeral,
he okayed the Mustang before that.
Iceman was like, in the event of my death, the Maverick can fly wherever the fuck he wants.
I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like Iceman kind of let him do whatever he wanted.
Authority over the Federal Aviation
Yes.
Administration.
Anyway, to get back to one of the original points I was getting at is that the first 2/3 of the movie are preparation before takeoff, and then the last third of the movie is when you go, all right, boys, we're taking it's Maverick in the Lockheed Martin sponsored Superjet, and he goes, I bet I could take this one after Mach 10, and then the movie actually goes past Mach 10 in that fucking final act where you're just like, dude, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. I'm so stressed, but they might actually pull this shit off. And you're like, when they do it, you fucking lose your mind in the theater because you've been gripping your goddamn chair the whole time, sitting back being like, that was the thing. That's the thing that got me to be like, I can't deny how this movie is making me feel, because I got towards not a lull, but like there's like this short dip in danger in the middle of the action scene.
Yeah.
And I just like went, oh no, I've been gripping my chair this whole time.
They let you breathe for a second to realize that you haven't been breathing for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the movie goes, you dummy.
We're not
Don't
done.
you know the movie's not over? We have second action scene, baby. A completely different classic fucking fighter where they fucking one of them goes down. Maverick does Maverick shit by coming back and saving them at the last second. And they're like, why'd you do that? You my sacrifice. And he's like, we're getting everyone out. So that's the thing that I kind of really love about Top Gun Maverick, is that a lot of, like, I agree. Is there a lot of U.S. military psyops happening in this movie?
I'm very
know.
bold to call it a psyop. It's kind of front and center. Like,
But also, this is a movie that explicitly has characters who represent the United States military, who go, Maverick goes, so how are we getting everyone home? And they're like, yeah. They just come home at the end of the mission. And then Maverick's like, no, I mean, like, what part of the mission, how do we do the fly home part? And they're like,
it'll happen.
You just fly home. You just fly home, and you just dodge the missiles, and then you fly home, and it's fine. You don't got to worry about nothing after that. And it's like, oh, fuck. They're depicting people, like, the top brass
Being
is just
uncaring of their grunts that they're sending off the perilous missions.
They're thinking about this in the same way they think about the drone they show off at the start of the movie, where they're just like, you just send them on the mission, and they come back, and if they don't come back, yeah, that fucking sucks, but, you know, it's a dangerous mission. What are we going to do? And meanwhile, Maverick's like, fuck you, Rooster. I'm not going to let you sacrifice yourself, you piece of shit. I'm the one who's sacrificing myself here. Fucking
you know,
flies,
Jacob, I'll say for kicking off my quick thoughts on this is that they should have replaced the scene where Maverick's love interest comes back onto the boat. They should have replaced that with Hangman and Rooster making sloppy just on the deck of the plane. They should have just had the most wet kiss possible. Finally commit to the bit. They needed it. They needed that release after all that tension built up between them, trying to become the lead pilot or whatever for the mission.
Captain. They don't even become captain.
They
That
don't.
was really weird. I will say that as this is where, you know, the burden of knowledge came. But everything like, oh, who's gonna be team leader? I'm like, someone
It's Rooster.
it's a fight lead. It's a fight lead.
Yeah.
Just say fight lead. Just say fight lead.
I'll just say quickly the counterpoint to you guys are the relationship defenders. Vichu and I are the relationship non-enjoyers, deniers, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for Nick to tell me about how there shouldn't be women in this military.
No, I don't. They just didn't. They should have done more with her. Did more than be like a plot conveyor belt, so Maverick can feel better about it. Like it would have. To me, it felt like it would have made more sense that the like you have to believe in yourself and like you have to like you gotta move on from your guilt about Goose. Like that felt like it would have come better from Iceman when he was talking to him at like the estate or whatever. Like I felt like that conversation would have been better handled by them. And at that point, if you're gonna have, because that's kind of what I felt like a lot of the relationship with the female lead was getting to, was having her in the bedroom with him so she could be like, you could do this, you could do this. And like, if they just did that with Iceman, then what would her purpose for the whole movie have been?
Instead, you know.
Yeah.
So here's my counterpoint to your counterpoint.
Okay.
Her argument is not, you can go do this mission. Her argument is, hey man, if you keep focusing on this Goose shit, it's going to destroy you. Which is just like, I understand. There's still an aspect of this of like, her character is still centered around Maverick.
Yeah.
Which I understand. But also, the difference in this movie is that then she goes, hey Maverick, I'm not going to let you pull this fucking shit again. If you try and pull shit on me, I'm going to fucking leave. And that's what she does initially. That's why I think the last 5 seconds shot kind of ruins that part of the movie for me. But the best part is that Maverick does the flight run. John Hamm goes, congratulations Maverick, you're back in the fucking mission, boy. Here's your fucking crew, baby, let's go. And then he's like, oh boy, I gotta be the big pilot again. Oh boy, I'm me, Maverick. Time to go see my girlfriend, who's definitely still there. And then he goes to the bar and she's like, he's like, where girlfriend? And then the old guy just has to go, dog, you fucking went on that mission, dude. She's not sticking around for that shit. She explicitly told you if you do that, she's not sticking around.
She left you a couple fingers though.
Yeah, she was like, get the fuck out of here.
No, I meant she chopped off her fingers and threw them at his door.
Well, that's Banshees of Inisherin, Nick. That's a different movie.
Yeah.
What?
And then the donkey dies.
Shut up! Don't remind me about the donkey. Oh
That's
god.
A mini pony, a mini horse.
But shows you how much you were listening to the stories.
Chime in with a different take on why I didn't like the girlfriend thing. Which is honestly one of my main detractor from the film and why I didn't really give it a 5 out of 5. It was just it just feels so like cookie cutter, copy and paste. Like, all right, cool, we're making a movie. What are the basic essential ingredients of a movie? A plot, a likable character. Oh, a love interest. We need a love interest. And I just think a lot of the movies do this thing. And Top Gun Maverick was one of them, where it's like, all right, okay, cool. This character needs a love interest. The character doesn't need a love interest. It doesn't need a love interest at all. I feel like every time I saw those two interact in the scene, sure, they had chemistry. There was nothing for me, like specifically, that I guess justified its existence other than, oh, it's a love interest. The main character needs a love interest, and that's just why I didn't like it. A lot of movies do this, and Top Gun Maverick is guilty of it, where people feel a different way. It just felt so blueprinted. You know, nothing really natural. It's just like we're following a cooking up a recipe for basic blockbuster film. While the film is still good, obviously, because the flight sequences were phenomenal. I think the film does a great job establishing Maverick's backstory for people who haven't even seen the first film.
Yeah, I felt completely fine not having watched the first one.
The love interest, it just felt like just copy and paste. We need something there. We need to follow a blueprint and follow a recipe. And every time they were on screen, I stopped paying attention, got bored, didn't care, or cringed a little bit. Especially the bar scene. I cringed a little bit at the bar scene.
I get what you mean, but my counterpoint to that is that, like, and once again, this is not me trying to prove to you, like, hey, this is why you should like this. This is me telling you why it works for me. Is that
that's fine, yeah.
For me, it's a step above a lot of those cookie cutter things, because the entire point of that aspect of the film is to teach you about Maverick's character. It's to be like, hey, why isn't this guy, you know, a person who is in his later years and has stopped flying? And the point of that whole relationship arc is the Puss in Boots thing of like, no, Maverick's a fucking psychopath when he's given the opportunity. It literally the most perfect quote unquote domestic life he wants is right in front of him. Someone shows up to his door and goes, Maverick, you can have everything you want outside of, you know, the Navy and flying. Would you take it? And Maverick goes, no, I think I want to try and throw myself off a cliff again. And you're like, Maverick, what the fuck is wrong?
Well, I mean, also, Jay, I will say, to be fair, Jay, he's also doing it because he wants to look after Rooster, and he wants to, and he does care about these people he's been training.
Did he accept the job before or after learning about Rooster, though? I don't know if he
He
know
accepted before,
No,
but
he accepted
that's
before,
because he got orders. He's in the
Okay.
Navy. He's in the military. It's like,
I told him to.
yeah, it's like Ed Harris is like, bro, I don't understand how you're still in the fucking Navy. You're a captain. You're like a fucking 03 still in the Navy. How did this happen? What are we doing here?
You only bought these guys a couple of months.
And
Yeah.
so it's like you're heading you're going back to Top Gun, and Maverick is just like, okay, well, this is my way to stay in the Navy. And then as he points out to John Hamm's character, sir, I just want to manage expectations. I was, I was fired after like 3 months because at the end of the first movie he becomes a Top Gun instructor. Like,
Right.
like they're all, and then it's like, yeah, I lost that gig after like they shunted me. So he's just been bouncing around different. The implication is he's just been bouncing around different parts of the Navy because he's
friends with Iceman, one of
Yeah.
an admiral.
If you're an
That's-
admiral, you can get away with everything.
I mean,
Favor?
the start of the movie
Top
sets
brass
it up-
giving favors in the military? What?
honestly, specifically the Navy, very realistic.
Yeah.
the start of the movie also just does it's such a perfect encapsulation of explaining, like you guys said, explaining to an audience who might not even seen the first Top Gun who the type of personality we're talking about, which is Maverick, who finds out the general or the admiral is on his way to shut down our program. Maverick, there's no way we'll be able to do another test. Once he gets here, we're done. And Maverick just goes, is he here yet? And they go, no. And he said, get me the fuck up there. We're flying this bad boy until he shuts us down. And then he fucking flies it. They go, Maverick, this vehicle is not tested to go beyond Mach 10. Do not go beyond Mach 10. If we pass Mach 10, we pass the test, and we don't need to go any further. And so you're sitting there in the theater. It's the most beautiful, like, shot of this Mach speed jet from like space.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. And you're watching it. You're watching Maverick watch the little dial that calculates his fucking speed.
Number
it's
go up.
ticking and it's ticking up, and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna fucking do it. It might have been crazy enough just to work. And then the speed just ticks up, and then it passes, and you're like, fuck yeah, they did it. They fucking showed that motherfucker who was coming to slow them down. And then Maverick gives you, the audience, this look of like,
What if we went up to 11?
What if we went a little bit more?
and
That's
you go,
a bigger number.
let's go
That's
higher.
higher. That's faster.
and then you go, oh my god, Maverick's gonna fucking kill himself in the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, that opening sequence is phenomenal. Just everything about it, just like the way they set it up. I think it really sets the stage for like the rest of the movie and what the
And
character.
then before
Mav is
that,
in
when
the
they
movie.
just have the straight homage to the beginning of the original Top Gun with the Harold Faltermeyer soundtrack, the Carrier at dawn, the orange.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at first when you're watching it, you're like, wait, is this like, did I walk into the wrong? Is this like, are they doing like a screening of the original Top Gun as like a guy? And then you're like, wait, no, okay, that's a Super Hornet, that's a F-35. Those are not planes that existed in 1980 that were in this movie in 1986. So I'm watching the right movie.
Mm. Yeah.
And then it's just once again, I don't even think this movie is like a 5 out of 5. I think that there are aspects like that last 5 seconds which pull it down for me. But it's like once it hits that third act, you're like, oh, that's right. The power of cinema. I'm in a movie theater.
Nicole Kidman was right this
Yeah,
entire time.
heartbreak feels great
What
in
she
a
was
place like
that's
this.
what she's watching. You don't see what's on the screen, but that's what she's watching. Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
She was letting us know. It's like,
No, that's not true. If it was Top Gun Maverick, her nails would be gripped into the leather, like tearing into it, okay?
She was
That
like,
shit
"Listen, I know
grips
this
you.
pandemic shit is real bad, and you don't want to come to a movie theater. But let me listen. When this shit finally comes out,
Oh,
'Cause
God.
it's just pure like adrenaline of like they've proven that it's possible. Now they
Yeah.
need to show that they
Now they
can-
need to execute.
and
They've
it's like,
practiced,
yeah.
they've practiced, they've practiced. Now they need to execute. They've got the team.
And-
Like, I think a heist movie is a perfect way to describe this movie. Like, that's a really good summary of it.
And they throw in those appropriate hiccups, like the bridge they didn't know about, where you're like, oh no, is someone gonna fucking like not have time enough to react and hit this fucking bridge?
Yeah.
the
and then,
targeting
like-
pod,
Yeah.
the targeting pod.
Oh,
Deadeye
yeah.
is breaking. So he's like, oh, you gotta drop the
I do
bombs
have a
now.
logistical question.
We need
Yeah.
So when what's Phoenix's co-pilot's
Bob.
call sign?
Bob.
No, not
Iconic.
Bob. No.
Oh, the most
No.
realistic thing in this movie, this guy just being called Bob. That is the
Yes.
most accurate fighter pilot call sign. Everyone else is like cool call signs. Like, I'm Phoenix, I'm Hangman. It's like, no, you don't get a cool call sign in fighter pilot culture. Your call sign is either designed to mock you in some way or it's based on some fuck up you did.
What's the name of the character that almost dies?
Rooster?
No.
No, not Rooster.
Well, Rooster also
in
almost
the
dies.
in the trial in the.
Oh, so there's the guy, Coyote's the guy who has the G-lock and
yeah.
and
What
almost
was
crashes.
Mav trying to do? Like, if you lock onto his ship and create.
So
the
he was
space
trying
down-
to lock on and essentially get the
noise ringing.
the radar warning receiver tone in his headset to blare, and it's loud because it's the warning receiver saying, "Hey,
You're about to
someone
get
is
shot."
locking on to your aircraft. They're going to employ weapons against you. You should do something about
Wait,
this."
so ships
So
are
he's trying
capable of
to-
doing that? When you're getting locked on, your plane will tell you you're locked on.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. It might also be more like in tune because they're on the same side, so they can like have more advanced
Well,
like
he's
setups
also
between each other.
yelling
But
at him through the comms. He's like
Right.
trying to wake him up because he's G-locked, and he's like, I mean, this is a G-lock is a real thing that kills
Yeah.
a lot of pilots. And recently, the Air Force has actually developed a technology called to automatically recover pilots from G-lock and save a lot of lives. So like, this is a very kind of realistic,
Yeah.
in a sense, at least for the film scenario where they're trying to get this. By the way, also, you know. The bird strike scene is also, I mean, bird strikes are a real problem, but you know, I saw some interesting debate online on whether specifically the Super Hornet would have a problem with bird strikes because it got.
If it
Yeah, those
affects the greatest pilot on the plane, it's Sully Sullenberger. It's gonna affect the fighter plane, okay?
I'm just like, wow, that's a bad day of training. It was like this guy almost G-locks in, and then this other aircraft immediately after that catastrophe is burdened. Bird strikes, and then both the pilot and the weapons officer have to eject.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your final rating, Jacob, on Top Gun Maverick?
4.5. But now that we're getting the final ratings, I can finally take a pin out that I had pinned this entire time because Beekman brought up something earlier, which is the little thing when they're like laser target system on the targeting bot malfunctions and they have to manually shoot it. And A, that seems dope as fuck. And B, one of the best parts about this movie is that it's about filmmaking. It's about making movies. And what this entire movie is about is some executive, this in the form of Army top brass or Navy top brass, coming to someone who wants to make these old types of movies and says, son, we don't do that here anymore. We use the drones. We use technology.
Mhm.
And Maverick goes, fuck you. I'm gonna take out my fucking dinky ass plane with people in it because it's not about the goddamn plane. It's about the one motherfucker behind the wheel.
It's about the guy in the box.
It's about the guy in the box.
It's
Fire
not the
box.
plane, it's the pilot.
There's been a lot of discussion about the allegory in Top Gun Maverick about filmmaking. About is Tom Cruise the last real movie star? In the traditional sense we thought of movie stars. And obviously, I mean, it really is. The movie is so exciting because everyone has made such a deal about the footage, and it is exciting. But it's just like you have this sense in your back of your mind, you're watching something that you have never seen on film before.
Yep.
And you are unlikely to see again.
Yeah.
Just because of the expense of doing it. I mean, because you got
costs lots of money.
Costs lots of money. The Navy is billing you for fuel and time on these planes and all this other shit. And it's like, yeah, you don't see a lot of movies like this. There may be other air combat. There have been air combat movies in between Top Gun and now in Top Gun 2, but a lot of them are just like effects shot. You're just not. You're clearly telling it's like, oh, they didn't shoot this for real. This is CGI. This is models. This is whatever.
Yeah.
And the sense of physical risk. Yeah, the physical risk. Like, they were flying these planes. They were doing crazy maneuvers, and obviously, the pilots in the United States Navy are some of the best aviators in the world. But like, some of them could have not.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise could have just.
I mean,
lawn darted into a mountain.
But funny enough, like as you're talking about analogizing this to like this is a movie about planes, but actually it's a movie about filmmaking. It's also a movie about how Tom Cruise is just this actually insane that he will continue to do his own stunts till the end of time, or he dies.
Top Gun Maverick is like Maverick the character is so clearly like it's weirdly Tom Cruise's most personal film in that you watch it, and if you know enough about Tom Cruise, you're like, this guy's mentality is the same as Tom Cruise, where someone goes it because he's acknowledging his own faults. Because you can both agree with Maverick and be like, it's about the guy in the box. But then the problem is that Maverick then takes it like 2 steps too far, where he's like, and that's why me, an old guy, should send myself into life-threatening situations on the daily. Anyway, guys, isn't it great back to me with movies? I'm gonna throw myself off this cliff for Dead Reckoning Part 1. And you're like, Jesus, Tom, what the fuck's wrong with you?
But also, like, it is a more self-aware film, I think, about Tom Cruise. Like, this is one of the first Tom Cruise movie, like early current era Tom Cruise movie, where the way it is shot and where he's interacts with other characters, like, you see how short he really is.
Yeah.
He's like as short, like they don't film him to make him seem like the other actors he's with are essentially on his level in terms of physical stature. Like the scene where like he's talking to Rooster initially when they're going out to the flight line, and like Brewster's like, are you gonna fail me here too? Like, are you gonna wash me out here like you did at the academy? Like, he's like, Tom Cruise is like standing looking slightly up at Miles Teller. Like, it's not filmed in a way where they're like, Miles Teller is like secretly doing a wide squat off screen or something like that, or Tom Cruise is not standing on an apple box or anything like that. Like, they more acknowledge, like, he takes more like pratfalls. Like the whole scene where he's like falling out of Penny's window, he's like trying to sneak out and he fucks it up. It's just like, this is a more aware self-aware Tom Cruise, who's like willing to like look.
Yeah, still not self-aware enough to get out of Scientology, but we're getting there. Baby steps.
Baby steps.
But look something approaching human, which is such like a very different thing to like The Rock, for example, where like Dwayne's like, bro, I'm not taking any L's. In any of these fucking movies.
Contractually, I will not take L's.
Dwayne Johnson is leveraging all his time in pro wrestling, being like, listen, I'm going over, brother.
Yeah.
Okay, I drew this house. I drew this house, brother. You're gonna be You're gonna be down staring up the lights, doing the 1, 2, 3.
Good lord! All right, we're getting almost to 2 hours here, so I wanna wrap this up. So what was you were getting back to your rating, Jacob? What did you end up putting it at?
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. A movie that I was so mad coming out of because I liked it so much.
Yeah. All right, Beaks. I don't know if
have
you
a letterbox.
You do have a letterbox,
but I don't have a letterbox.
Oh, you don't have a
I
letterbox.
do not.
Okay.
I do not. But I guess I would probably give it a 5 out of 5. This is my favorite movie I saw this year. I think it is just an incredible film in almost every technical respects. It is remarkably how good it is. Like the idea of a sequel to Top Gun being this excellent was frankly, I mean, I was interested in the movie going in, but I'm like,
Yeah.
It shouldn't work.
It shouldn't work. But somehow it does. It is the rare sequel that so completely eclipses the original in every way. To make the original movie almost obsolete, except for obviously the plot stuff that carries forward that is important. And it is a weirdly hopeful film about a group of people coming together to solve a problem, putting aside a lot of their problems with I mean, that's the whole thing. The whole thing with Hangman, like him, like after he doesn't get picked, he sort of has like the come to Jesus moment of like, all right, well, this shit is real. Like these 4 people who, we've had this friendly banner, but now they're going to fly into an extremely dangerous situation that they may not come back from. So I have to and he talks to Rooster on the flight deck, and they sort of come to this understanding, and then obviously
and then they kiss.
He saves the day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Nick. This is not this.
It was all there. They had more chemistry than the goddamn love interest with Maverick. I'm saying it, okay?
I don't.
Nah.
You guys need to realize that this is how people in the military are. They're just very gay with each other.
I'll read out Kobe's here real quick.
Regardless of their actual sexuality, it's.
Kobe also put in a 5 out of 5, saying, I think what this film does exceptionally well is bringing us back to what the summer blockbuster could be. I think it does action superbly. The cast of characters were awesome and brings the feels when it needs to. I understand the criticisms of the forced romance, and I think it does make the film dip in the second act. But, however, the final act absolutely rips and completely makes the film one of the best of the year. So, yeah, been pretty positive. I put it at a 4 out of 5. Again, I think me and Beecher are in the same boat here of just thinking the romance kind of brought some stuff down, but everything else, again, totally agree, really slaps hard, and the relationships are there. And, as much bitching and moaning there is about it being military propaganda, they made it real good, so consider.
Yeah, I know it's military propaganda, and it fucking kicks ass. It's so good at being military propaganda. The Chinese canceled their
Oh my god!
They're like, nah, we're done. You can't do it. You can't measure up.
That's
it's
fucking
over.
hilarious.
Taiwan, you're free now. You're independent.
We're giving it to you.
It's over.
Oh man, yeah. So that's where I'm at. Bichu, where are you at?
I'm at a 4 out of 5. Same thing with you. I think I probably would have liked, aside from the love shit being abysmal in my opinion. I think I would have liked a little bit more of passing the baton being a trope in the film. It really just ended off with Maverick's the best and he'll always be the best.
Yes, I mean that's the thing. That's the thing, though. It's the Puss in, like I said, it's the Puss in Boots thing. He doesn't. The lesson he learns at the end is, "I am the greatest. Fuck the others. Let's go, baby." And you're just like, "Hey, man, are you doing okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just fucking flew the hardest fucking mission of my life. Let's fucking go. I'm fucking 50+ years old, baby."
Oh god. Now I'm gonna go promote Scientology. See you next time.
I just will say, if you flew that mission, got shot down, stole an F-14, used that F-14 to shoot down 2.
Ran on foot from behind on the way to that Tomcat.
I would probably be feeling myself pretty that's pretty baller.
Yeah.
You would probably be a legend for decades after that. Even after you're dead, you're just like, yo, you hear this Pete Maverick Mitchell guy? He fucking did this shit.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it really is some Call of Duty shit where you just are like, or more like, it's really some Battlefield ass shit where you're like, oh, that plane's done? It's fine. I landed near a hangar.
I parachuted in the enemy spawn point.
Literally. Oh man. Yeah, but yeah, I think that'll do it. We went a little long, but there was a lot of good stuff to talk about, and a lot of bad stuff to talk about too.
Yeah. Wait, one last note on Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
Can we talk about how in the ending sequence when they have the stolen plane, they can't get any of the technology to work, and so that just doubles down on the thematics about where they're like, we're fucking doing this eyeline shit, baby.
Yeah, they really went hard on, our U.S. military technology is so good that even the old shit that doesn't work anymore is still gonna outclass 5th gen fighters from Op 4.
Because it's not about the fucking plane. It's about the guy in the box.
I will say is kind of about the plane. I mean, I would rather be
Shut the fuck up,
in a
Hickman.
5th gen fighter. I mean,
You're ruining the filmmaking. You're ruining the filmmaking.
Jamming bullshit. Why the F-35 can't do this?
Yeah. Man.
Realism of the plan aside,
Good movies. Fuck Jurassic World Dominion. That's on the other end of the spectrum of sequels to franchises that had no chance. That would prove that you can't make this good. They fucking sealed that fucking deal real hard.
Worst movie I saw this year. I don't know. I will say in reference to your earlier Bullet Train conversation, which you were watching.
Oh yes, the comment you
Bullet
made
Train
in the chat.
is a pretty mid movie. It kind of is in one ear, out for the other for me. But I would say, because I saw them pretty close together, I thought The Gray Man was way less.
Well, I didn't watch The Gray Man because I heard it was so bad, and I went, I'm not gonna waste my time with that shit.
No, and sometimes.
We want to
All right. Now we're gonna cut this off. You talk about Maverick's movie of the year. All right, you're not gonna put Ambulance above
second
top
movie
of
of the year, Ambulance.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I will say I will say we can name honorable mentions if you want to name an honorable mention. So that Ambulance is yours.
Yes.
I will say, it was between Everything Everywhere and goddamn Halloween Ends. That movie made me go crazy, and I cannot recommend it enough.
I haven't seen that movie, but I think you finally lost it.
I listen.
Yeah, interesting. You're a Halloween Ends enjoyer, huh?
Yes.
Seems like you're the minority on that one.
I really am, but I think it's another Last Jedi scenario.
30-minute diatribe on the wrestling podcast I listened to about how Halloween Ends.
You need to see it for yourself, okay? I won't say anything more, but you gotta see it. All right, you need to at least see it once.
Don't be indoctrinated by the mob, Beekman. You have to.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a horror movie guy,
opinion.
and these dudes were very big horror movie guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
Until they saw Halloween Ends.
Did anybody else have any other honorable mentions?
I do.
Just
Sorry,
throw out my
I need
name.
to get my ratings up. Hold on.
Go for it. Send it. Beachy, you got any off the dome?
I'd probably say, you know what? Maybe After Sun. Maybe I think After Sun gets an honorable mention. I
did not hear about that movie before this podcast, so maybe I'll have to check it out.
Are feature-length documentaries allowed here?
Yes.
The HBO documentary "Escape from Kabul" about
that sounds good.
Afghanistan, the evacuation around the airport, Hamid Karzai Airport, in Kabul was very good. I mean, it's a very harrowing and disturbing documentary.
I
a lot
thought
of
you
it.
meant the situation itself was. Like, hold on, wait a second.
No.
Beaks,
No,
you're gonna make me
good.
read this
It was very
goddamn book
bad,
about
in
how
fact.
bad
The
we fucked up.
documentary makes clear, but I would highly recommend that documentary that came out.
You're gonna make me read hundreds of pages about how we fucked up in Afghanistan and the Peck Valley, and then you're gonna make me watch a documentary movie about how we fucked up pulling out. This is gonna be banger after banger of how bad we were in Afghanistan.
People should keep that in their hearts, I think.
Yeah,
personally.
we fucked
I
up.
think that would be a good thing if more people did.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, did you watch Bullet Train? Were you disappointed by that shit like I was? Well, congratulations. There was another fucking movie that came out this year that not enough people went to go see. Also starring Sandra Bullock, Brad Pitt, and Channing Tatum. It's called Lost City. It's a rom-com, and it was good.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that. You were getting back into rom-coms, and you're like, yeah, this was all right. I should see that at some point.
Anyway,
Jacob, when are you gonna come back to my movie nights? What's going on here?
Well, I'm finally free again, but I couldn't do it last Friday because I was
there was
going
no
to
movie night
watch
this last Friday.
Okay, well then,
Okay.
good. I couldn't make it anyway.
Okay.
Glass Onion, fucking Nope.
Nope. Oh shit, Nope was also there. Yeah, that was top 3.
Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Fucking pour one out for my gal. Elvis is insane. And I think
He's
that's
what?
he's whack. Yeah, and I guess Confess Fletch.
Also, Jacob, did you know that Austin Butler was on the hit Nickelodeon show
Yes, I
Zoe
did.
101? I did not, and that blew my fucking mind.
Beekman, once this is over, have you seen the Before Elvis, After Elvis Austin Butler interview compilation?
Okay,
I think
let's do
I
that
actually-
after this ends.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Let's round this out.
Austin
Yeah.
Butler's brain.
We talked a lot
broken now.
about a lot of good movies. Thank you guys for joining me. Here's to a movie filled year of hopefully more bangers and less stinkers. And yeah, so until I see y'all next time. Next week is gonna be music of 2022. So tune in for that. Same time ish, probably around 4 p.m. That'll be another Horsin Around special. So tune in for that.
And remember-
and I'm streaming more regularly. So what do you got?
And remember, tomorrow, Sunday, January 15th, 2023, season 2 of Mayor of Kingstown comes out on the Paramount.
Oh,
Shut up!
no,
All
not
right,
Mayor.
get the fuck out of
Make sure
here.
to
Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe out there, and peace.